Hello and welcome to another episode of Just Jets. What is going on? Matt O'Leary back with another episode. Excited to get into this one today. Want to talk some Mason Taylor here in the open and then get into your reactions from the Jets' first preseason game. And as the New York Jets head into their second preseason game, we'll recap day 2 of Jets and Giants' second joint practice later on with Jeremy on the channel on a live. And then we'll start turning the page to get ready for game day for the New York Jets. But it was good news yesterday for the Jets as they welcomed back guys like Jermaine Johnson, Quinnen Williams, John Simpson, guys like that, right? And all three of the guys, Quinnen, Jermaine Johnson, John Simpson, all play a big factor for the New York Jets. But one of the other names that I haven't mentioned yet is where I wanted to start. Mason Taylor. So in week 1 in the preseason, it's all going to tie together here. You'll see it'll make sense in a second. In the preseason, we saw the Jets utilize the tight end a lot, and they did it without their rookie tight end Mason Taylor, who is expected to be the starter. On the first drive, we saw Andrew Beck catch a couple of passes and made 2 really big plays. We also later saw Stone Smart have a touchdown reception, and we saw even Zach Kuntz get in on the mix at the tight end spot. I think the point bringing this up is the Jets' usage of the tight end in that game, mixed with Mason Taylor's usage throughout training camp and how he's played, to me, tells me that Mason Taylor is going to be a huge piece to this offensive puzzle, right? We know Garrett Wilson's a big piece. You know, obviously the running backs, Justin Fields are a big piece. And it's rare for the Jets to have someone, especially on the offensive side of the ball, a pick in the second round, a round where they've swung and missed a bunch. Elijah Moore didn't work out. Denzel Mims didn't work out. Stephen Hill didn't work out. Devin Smith didn't work out. They even took a tight end, Jason Morrow, in the second round. Didn't work out. I am sticking my neck out to an extent, right? Because past history will tell you that Jets and second round picks don't usually end well, no matter who is making the selections. Joe Douglas, Mike McCagnon, Mike Tannenbaum, the list goes on and on. But I truly believe that Mason Taylor is going to be different for this Jets team, right? He comes back yesterday and not trying to overhype anything or just really isolate this one play, but he had an unbelievable catch in the team drills against the Giants where he's about 25 yards downfield and makes a sliding catch on the sideline and stays inbound. First practice back. And it's hard not to get excited about this player, especially when you, again, factor in what I think the tight end's going to do. 1, in the pass catching game, and number 2, in the running game. We saw it as well in Green Bay against the Packers, where the Jets were putting a heavy emphasis on the run. They ran the ball over 50% of the time. Mason Taylor is going to have a big impact on that as a tight end, which is why going into the draft, I was putting such an emphasis on the need for the Jets to draft that position early because of how I thought they were going to be utilizing them. And then you get into the pass catching, and everyone and their mother is talking about the Jets wide receiver room not being good enough, which is true. Outside of Garrett Wilson, there are major holes and question marks littered on the roster at that position. But I think the best way that Tanner Engstrand, Justin Fields, and this offense will mitigate some of those problems is utilizing the tight end and Breece Hall, too, as a pass catcher, and Braylon Allen as a pass catcher. The running backs, you can't forget those 2 guys. But if you're going to get away with not having a deep wide receiver room, then you're going to need Breece Hall and Braylon Allen and Mason Taylor to be major factors in the passing offense. And wouldn't you know it, Mason Taylor's back today, and the Jets offense starts well. They didn't maybe finish the way that you would have liked, but in the initial comeback and getting rhythm, Justin Fields is hitting, Mason Taylor. And he's having big plays in his first practice back against a different opponent, right? Like he's gone against the Jets defense now for a couple weeks straight. He's making plays. And with him back, I fully expect him to play in this preseason game coming up against the Giants. And the entire first team offense, I think, get a long look. I think we're looking at these guys for a little over a quarter would be my guess. At least a quarter would be my guess. They played 10 plays, one drive. It was a good drive, but it was one drive against the Packers. I don't think we see a repeat of that against the Giants. I think we see significantly more playing time for this first team offense. And arguably the guy I'm most excited about watching is Mason Taylor in his first game action because of what we've seen from him in training camp and this joint practice against the Giants. And with him coming back, I think we're going to see another wrinkle added to this Jets offense. Let's get to your voicemails. We have a lot of calls to get to today. Sorry if I don't get to you. We're starting it back up with the games back. You got to call in after the game is played. So the Jets played on Saturday. So any calls before that, unfortunately, were too dated to play. So that's picking back up now in season. So just a reminder, if you don't hear a voicemail, that's part of the reason why. Let's get to Peter starting us off with his thoughts about the Jets-Packers game.
Hey, Matt. It's Peter calling from up in the beautiful Hudson Valley on this Saturday evening. Sorry, I'm so used to calling on Sundays. In regards to the Jets beatdown right now, the Packers 24-3 going into the fourth quarter. On the first preseason game, it is just preseason, but it is good to see football back. Wanted to talk about some observations from the game so far. The Jets looked pretty good in all three phases. We're going to talk about penalties. But in that first drive, seeing Fields run it in for the score was very nice, even though things, moved fairly well down the field. Obviously, the starting offensive line, seeing Tippmann at left guard and then Josh Myers at center was what we all kind of thought with Simpson being out. The nice passes that Fields had to Beck twice, the fullback/tight end out of the backfield, I think may have actually gone to Taylor if he had been healthy for the game. Maybe even Ruckert if he had been playing a little better. I could also see Stone Smart having a role in that type of pass play going forward. So that's the type of thing you could see those tight ends doing over the middle if they play as open. And Beck, obviously played well, having done it. So those obviously contributed there. On defense, obviously those penalties against both Watson and Marcelino McCrary-Ball, those unsportsmanlike conducts on back-to-back plays, not good. The one on Watts was a bad call. The one on Marcelino McCrary-Ball was bad on him.
Correct.
And you saw it on the sideline when Glenn got in his face as he got over there. Good to see. I want to talk about the special teams, though, too. Austin McNamara looks like a pretty good punter so far, so I think that's why they got rid of Kai Kroger. But obviously, the great play by Stiggers, hitting him deep, and then LT3 with the strip sack on Willis, and then Tufele falling on it for the touchdown was nice. And then one of the punts subsequently later, Jamarcus Weston, special teams ace, got the muffed punt and set up the Jets deep, even though it only led to a Mevis field goal. So good stuff there. A lot of Brandon Smith. Love seeing him getting some nice catches. Donovan Edwards behind Kenny Nwangwu at running back. A little weird, but when he did get it on the field, it seemed like he was playing well. So those are just some of the observations. Having, obviously, a few guys out like A.Z. Thomas and JBC in the defense, we didn't get to see some of them play, but Stiggers played well. So I let me know your thoughts on what you saw from any of the other guys in the game. And as always, go Jets.
Yeah, you rattled off a lot there on some really good notes to see from the New York Jets in their first preseason action against the Green Bay Packers. I would like to highlight one of the guys that you called out towards the end in Donovan Edwards, probably the fourth or fifth running back on the depth chart. And, tough situation with the running backs that are in front of him, but played really well. And yeah, it's the third and fourth quarter of a preseason game, right? Like you're going up against third string guys as you're maybe a third string or fourth string guy yourself. And the competition's a little bit different, but he was really efficient in this game and unfortunately had a 70-yard run taken away from him on a borderline holding call. So that was a player that I wasn't really expecting to have a good game. Not that I thought he was going to go out there and stink, right? But I'm talking about a lot of the players that you just listed off, Peter, were players that I was also watching for and players that I wanted to see. And Edwards, just because of where he was on the depth chart, didn't rank particularly high on me keeping an eye on, but if the Jets carry 4 running backs, would they consider carrying him over Nwannu if they feel like maybe Pritchett could be their returner or Arian Smith can be their returner? This is something that I think we're going to have to keep an eye on, in the next 2 weeks with these preseason games. But overall, I thought it was a good showing from the Jets in their first preseason game, and most of you guys agree. We're going to go to Evan up next, who is a first-time caller, wants to get his thoughts in.
Hey, Matt. Long-time listener, first-time caller. This is Evan from South Carolina. Just wanted to mention, sitting here watching with my wife the first preseason game, and something I noticed as far as culture change. Just watching an interview in the sideline they did during a break with a Green Bay player. He was out of pads. He was kind of hanging out, a little bit of a sour attitude. He happened to mention specifically, we weren't out here trying to wow any fans or anything. Was almost verbatim the words out of his mouth. Meanwhile, sidelines, and Justin Fields, who hadn't touched the ball since the first quarter, sitting in pads, sweating it out with the whole team out on the sidelines. Maybe that makes a difference in the score. I don't know. I like the way this culture is going. I like the way Coach is doing things. Maybe way too early. It's only preseason. A lot of the second string, third string guys out here, man. What do you think about it so far? Appreciate you. Love you, man. See you next time.
Thank you so much for calling in. Appreciate it, Evan. Welcome to the program. I like that call out that you made on Justin Fields. I think, and I've said this before too, so this isn't really a new take or a groundbreaking take here that I have, but I think he's a really easy guy to root for, Justin Fields. I think he's a good person. I think his teammates really like him and they rally around him. And part of what you just described is a big reason why. Like you said, he's out there, pads still on, still sweating it out with the boys, right? Like, you're going into war with these guys for 17 games during the regular season and hopefully more beyond that in the playoffs. Maybe not this year, but you're hoping, right? Like, you got to go into the year and be like, we are going into battle here. And I think the players really respect that. And the coaching staff has their belief in Justin Fields. And, there's no doubt who the quarterback is. Tyrod's banged up right now, too. So there's especially not a doubt. But even when Fields was struggling, it was more of the fans and maybe media personalities talking about like, oh, is Tyrod Taylor really going to push for Justin Fields' starting spot? I think things would have to go really, really rough in season for them to pull the plug on it. And from what we've seen in camp, I don't think that's going to be the case. Now, I don't know if he's going to go out and light the world on fire and be a top 10 quarterback. I hope he does, because if so, that means the playoff drought's probably over this year and the Jets found their answer at the position. But I just want to see him go out there and win games, man. His back's pushed up against the wall. I think he realizes this is probably his last chance to prove that he is a starter in this league. And I hope we see the best out of him. Travis from Ohio.
Hey, man.
What's up, Travis?
Travis from Ohio. Hey, buddy. After the first preseason game, just seeing how Aaron Glenn actually coached this team and hired assistant coaches, not just, just because of their names, just because they were lifelong, whatever, and love it. And all of his pressers have been awesome. I don't care. He can talk like Rex Ryan used to talk back in the day, or Purcell's. And, those are the guys you follow. And think about it. Would somebody follow Adam Gase or Robert Saleh through a wall? No, they wouldn't. They'd be like, oh, you don't have to. And no repercussions. So, anyway, my point is, if we're down 30, like, all of a sudden we got the brakes blown off us. Do you see Aaron Glenn sitting down on a bench all by himself?
No.
Like Adam Gase? Or Robert Saleh just checked out? I see Aaron Glenn fired up the whole game and teaching every moment, coaching every moment like he wanted. And I don't know if he's going to be successful or not, but that's a successful trait. So, anyway, love you. Go Jets.
Thank you, Travis.
Still love Mrs. Wilson. Ah.
Thank you, Travis. I like that point on Aaron Glenn. He's going to be authentically him, where Adam Gase didn't have a personality. He was a football robot in the not so great sense of the word. And Robert Saleh, when he first came here, there were all the clips of him going nuts on the sideline. And when things went well, he would show emotion. But if things didn't go well, it would kind of just be the stone face, I'm going to stare off into the distance look from him that they'd pan to on the sideline. I don't know if we're going to get that from Aaron Glenn. And as Travis points out, doesn't mean he's a great coach. There's other factors that go into it, but it is a good trait because I think it's important for you as the coach to be the one leading the identity of this team. And the Jets haven't had an identity for a really, really long time. Probably since the Rex Ryan era, the early Rex era. Got rough after, the tail end of 2011 into 2014, but they were first 2 years extremely had an identity, and they played like it. They played like their head coach talked. And I hope the Jets this year play like their head coach talks. Let's go to Jerome in Savannah.
Matt O'Leary, thank you so much for taking my call. This is Jerome in Savannah, calling you on Sunday morning after the preseason win over the Green Bay Packers. Watching Brady Cook throw those passes, man, I was ready to grab a shotgun because I thought it was duck season. Oof. I didn't think I could throw a better spiral than an NFL quarterback, but hey, I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again, and I was wrong this time. But good for that kid, though. I think he actually did play pretty well. Matt, what was it, 2 weeks ago or a week and a half, the season was over because Justin Fields was carted off the practice field, and then, we're all like, oh, the season's over, and then the next day, oh, he's day-to-day, and then he goes, 1 for $1 billion in practice, and, with the interceptions, and it's like, oh, he sucks, the season's over already. And then last night, he shows off his wheels. He shows he's got, a decent enough arm. And all of a sudden we're back on track. Everybody's great. Everybody's happy in Jetland. So look, the up and downs of the NFL season, starting after the first preseason game, it was encouraging, okay? But it was just ultimately one preseason game. Let's see how, this continues. I'm very happy for that Justin Fields played well. Certainly would prefer that over, him not playing well. Okay. My boy Stone Smart with a nice little catch and run there. Good for him. Really like to see that. And, by the way, I thought Arian Smith was supposed to be a bust. Didn't your boy Greenbean talk all about, this guy was a wasted pick and all this other stuff? It turns out, there are things he can do. Maybe he was drafted for a reason. I know as fans, we're not supposed to have measured approaches to the sport, right? We're not supposed to, everything's got to be a hot take. There's nothing thoughtful about being a fan, right? But every once in a while, we got to just kind of pump the brakes and let things happen. But anyway, it was a fun game. We'll see what happens going forward, and talk to you soon.
Thank you. I really appreciate the call there, Jerome. Brady Cook thrown under the bus was kind of funny. As for, what you go through on the rest of the call, I think it's important to, I'm not saying don't be excited, and neither was Jerome. You absolutely can take away some things from this game and be excited about, because let's be fair for a second. If the Jets came out and were on the wrong side of this and they lost 30-10 and Justin Fields looked horrible in the debut and, the defense didn't look good or whatever happens, right? Like, again, pretend they were on the other side. You know what the narratives would be there too. So when people tell you, you can't get too excited, it's just a preseason game. The same goes if it's the other way. Like, I'm not saying the Packers aren't still a playoff contender because they lost their first preseason game 30-10. But when you're first year head coach and you're trying to instill, like, this is the identity of our football team, this is how we want to play, and they go out there and do it, and sure, there's things to work on. The penalty numbers need to come down. Flat out. Has to. And it wasn't perfect, but they did their job. They did what they were supposed to do. And now let's hope that it continues going forward. And I hope Arian Smith is an answer. I was critical of the Arian Smith pick too, because I did think he was drafted earlier than where he was likely supposed to go. But none of this matters if he plays well. Once a player's on the Jets, I want them to be the best version of themselves that they can, because I want my team to be good. At the same time, too, I'm going to react in, like, if going through the draft process, I don't particularly like a prospect, I'm going to talk about the reasons why, or talk about my concerns with the team. But when I or anyone, especially I could speak for, I feel comfortable speaking for Green Bean here. I hope every player on the Jets is amazing, but that doesn't mean that every single reaction we're going to have is, every draft pick is, this guy's awesome, he's going to go to the Hall of Fame. That would be disingenuous to what we're doing here. So I hope he proves me and many others wrong going forward. PG is up next.
Hello, Matt O'Leary. PG from Long Island here. Thank you for taking the call. Obviously, a nice performance by the Jets Saturday night. And it was nice to see, in a very small tiny sample size, the Jets' number one offense and number one defense outplay the Packers' first-team offense and first-team defense. It was also nice to see a Jets quarterback have such athleticism like Justin Fields displayed on his touchdown run. A couple notes on the game. One, Max Mitchell clearly came in as the number 2 left tackle. Last week I said to you I thought that Carter Warren is the number 2, but clearly he's not. And clearly he is on the roster bubble and the candidate to be cut, as you said. Another thing, a couple of weeks ago we spoke about Andrew Beck coming in under the radar as a player to watch, and it looks like clearly he's as a tight end ahead of Stone Smart on the depth chart. Versatile, and looks like he's clearly going to be part of this offense and, no longer under the radar. Michael Clemens, tough. He's a hothead. It's hard to coach hot-headedness out of a player. What I'm concerned about is if, he's obviously has a reputation, players are going to instigate him, and I think the refs are going to have a quick flag with him. So that's something to watch. But overall, very good performance by the Jets other than the penalties. Moving to this week, we have the joint practices with the Giants, and the Giants have a very good, very deep defensive line, as well as a fairly deep tight end room, including Daniel Bellinger, who's evidently a potential cap casualty. So what happens here a lot of times is opposing coaches get a good look at some of these players, and when they hit the waiver wire, they suck them up. So it's going to be interesting to see if that happens here with the Giants. We won't know until the end of the preseason, but something to keep an eye out for. Anyway, Matt O'Leary, Your thoughts on this, on these things as always, and as always, go Jets.
Thank you, PG. Looking at the depth chart, some things that stood out to me. One, you brought up the Max Mitchell one. I think that's a good shout out because, he has the guard flexibility. He was the first man up at left tackle. I do think has a pretty good chance, for right or wrong, to make the team. Tufele is another guy who played a lot and played really, really well, especially with Byron Cowart out. We saw a lot of Tufele, and that's a guy that this coaching staff has talked up for a long time. And, a part of me was like, going into, the last few weeks, be like, yeah, there's a lot of talk around this guy, but is he really going to, be one of the 9 or 10 defensive linemen that they keep? And after this performance and after the way that they've talked about him, I would say, yeah, absolutely. I agree with you on Michael Clemens. And we saw Aaron Glenn rip into him, which I think is necessary. He also had those reactions with, McCreary Ball and I'm sure Eric Watts as well on the penalties because that can't happen. But part of it might be a product of him and the team being able to get away with whatever they wanted because of the last coaching staff. They were so adamant about the players policing themselves. Didn't work. Jay from Jersey's up next.
Hey, what's up, Matt? Jay from Jersey. Actually called in on Wednesday about preseason, but you don't have to use that call if you want to use this one instead. But I was going to say, obviously I'm not writing anybody off. It was only the first preseason game. Starters really only had like 1 or 2 drives. But I just want to say, man, just from a strict observation, it just looks like Brees is slow, man. Hitting the hole, he's just so, it's like he's got cement shoes on next to everybody else. And I get it, when Braylon Allen came in, there was a bigger hole for him to crack. But still, it's just I don't know, I like Brees too. It's just he just seems so much slower moving. And even if you watch, it's a shame because we're probably going to have to cut or something with Donovan Edwards. But obviously the competition he went against was way less. But still, the plays he made, a little pass he caught, and the one that got called back that was a TD, that was a long run, he just seems like a powerful, quick to hit the hole back. I don't know, man. I honestly would be very open to trading Brees somewhere, but I know Brees is going to be a great pass catcher, but he is a running back, right? So I don't know. Not saying that the backfield needs to be Donovan Edwards, Braylon Allen, and Isaiah Davis in a specific order. I think Brees has a place there, but I don't know what it is. It's ever since the ACL tear, it hasn't been the same. He had a couple good runs, I feel like the past 2 years, but it's just, I don't know, man. The way he hits the holes, it seems so much slower than everybody else, and not sure how I feel about it, to be honest with you. I hope it doesn't carry through the season like this, but we'll see what happens. But what do you think, honestly? I know you really like Brees, but I don't think he's going to be here long term. I would really honestly be open to trading him even before the season starts, but that's just my opinion. If they don't, it is what it is. I still like the guy, and I hope he can, just get a little bit quicker moving. But, yeah, here's what you think, man. Can't wait for the season. And what do you also think about Donovan Edwards? And go Jets.
Okay, so quickly on Donovan Edwards, I'm going to spend most of the time on this call talking Brees. I was impressed. I haven't heard a lot of his name in training camp, and he played really well. I can't use, and I'm not saying that this is what Jay is doing here. I can't use 1 third and fourth quarter of a preseason game and go, that is enough for me to feel comfortable moving off of Breece Hall and rolling with Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, and Donovan Edwards. I can't do it off of that sample. Now, he has the rest of the training camp and the preseason to make a name for himself and to stand out, and I think that would be enough to potentially make the roster here. But if the Jets trade Breece Hall, it's really not so much about what the rest of the running back room looks like in terms of rushing. But they would then be trading their second best offensive playmaker. Garrett Wilson's number one. There's not a doubt in my mind that he is number one. But my question would be, assuming you keep Brees, he is at worst going to be third on the team in receptions. I think likely number 2 behind Garrett Wilson. I think it goes Garrett, Brees 2, Mason Taylor 3, and then like Josh Reynolds 4 would be my guess. I think you'd be cutting your nose off to spite your face if you're trading Brees Hall before the season starts. Now, if they just absolutely stink, they're 2-5. They don't look good at all. They're going nowhere fast. Brees Hall is struggling, and you want to flip him for an asset, that's a different conversation. I don't think that's how it's going to go. I think the Jets will hover around 500 for most of this year. And I think Brees is going to be a big part of this passing offense and rushing offense too. Like, Brees Hall's had a good camp. I don't want to, he had 3 carries in this game. He missed the hole on one of the 2, on one of the 3 rather. And, would you have liked to see him cut back and hit that hole? Yeah. But he tried to go one-on-one with a linebacker and he got stopped for a 3-yard gain. I need a bigger sample size before I'm jumping off on the Brees. I really do. And for the Braylon Allen lovers, which I would classify myself as a Braylon Allen fan, but those who are so quick to move off of Brees and make Braylon Allen the number 1 guy, Braylon Allen averaged 3.5 yards a carry last year. Brees Hall wasn't. I'm not saying that completely exonerates Brees Hall from his season last year, but even in a bad year, he averaged 4.2 yards per attempt, which is over half a yard per carry more. So I'm not there on Brees. Vic, Florida.
Yo, Matty. Vic from Florida, man. On my way into work. First day of school for the kids.
Oh, welcome.
First day as an assistant principal. And first day as I'm sucked back in to being a believer in our team. It didn't take long. A quick 3 and out. Huge play by Sauce Gardner. Didn't take his foot off the gas pedal after getting the bag, as we talked about. Right? And then we turn around and Justin Fields shoves it down their throat. I mean, what else more do you want? Ones against ones. I know it's preseason ball, right? I'm not a big fan of preseason ball, but hey, that got the juices flowing, brother.
Sure.
And if you're a Jet fan right now, you gotta feel good. I'm not saying, we're gonna go undefeated and win the Super Bowl. Well, we are, but I just love how composed he was, right? Offensive line looks somewhat decent. Run game was good, right? Braylon Allen's going to be an animal, I'm telling you. Sleeper fantasy. Don't tell anybody, even though I just did. Anyway, I love the fact that Aaron Glenn, he took Justin Fields out right after that drive. I was texting my boys, texting my dad, and one more drive would have been all right, but I was so okay with it because let him stay on that high note, right? Big confidence boost. He feels good. He didn't put himself in a bad situation. He checked the ball down. He got out of the pocket, and he scored. I mean, hang it up. That's it. Great job. Have a day, kid. Right? On to the next. All right? So I just feel super confident about it. Defense looks good. We're getting after the quarterback. Let's just try and continue this throughout the preseason and build upon that success, man. I'm feeling real good about it. And I also, one more thing about Aaron Glenn, I love how he reiterated our brand of football. No more BS, gimmick, slogans. This is New York Jet, Aaron Glenn football. And it's bust you in the mouth, downhill running, flying to the football. I'm jacked up, bro. I think we're gonna be just fine. All right? Justin Fields fine, baby. Here we go. J-E-T-S, Jets. Have a great day, brother. Thanks for all you do.
You too, my man. Welcome back to the school year. Hope you have a great one as your first year as an assistant principal. That's awesome. My mom is dreading going back. She's a pre-K teacher, and those kids are tough, man. It's not an easy job. So she's holding on to the summer while it lasts still at this point, but to everyone going back to school, hope you guys have a good school year. I love the optimism that Vic points out here. I think they're all absolutely things that you could take away from this game and say, yeah, that's definitely a positive on it. I think I'm going to agree with your take on Justin Fields and when the Jets pulled the plug. I thought it was smart from Aaron Glenn. And there are a few decisions that he made in this game. Like, we talked a lot about how he handled the penalty situation, but having the wherewithal to go, you know what? That's it for the starters. That's it for Fields. Leave on a high note. You want your last memory in the preseason to be a good one. And they let us a touchdown scoring drive. Went down the field, 10-play, long drive, held onto the ball, kept it simple, got in the end zone. Good. That's exactly what we want to do. Now, this week against the Giants, stretch him out a little bit more. He plays, maybe it's 3 drives, a little over a quarter, something like that. And take it from there. I'm excited for it. We're going to close with Vinny in Peekskill. V-Man.
Hey, Matt, it's Vin from Peekskill. What's going on? Been a while. Taking a look at the preseason game, and I know it's just a preseason game, but I think we're all agreeing that it's clearly a breath of fresh air in what we saw. To me, I think the biggest thing that I saw was the turnovers. I mean, for all the high ratings this Jets defense had gotten under the Saleh era, their one kryptonite was turnovers. And, I remember watching, I don't remember the game, but you might remember the game where they force a fumble and they just stare at the ball for about half a second or so. And by the time they react, the other team had already managed to recover it. It was like things like that. It was, to me, it always was more so the fumbles than the interceptions. But interceptions were also an issue. But to get to the point, to see them, how quickly they moved to secure the football the moment it hit the ground on the fumble in the end zone and then on the fumble on special teams. It's just such a breath of fresh air. It's such, I'm just glad to see that. I hope that's what we see more of going forward. Now, the penalties were annoying, but it was also refreshing to see the players get chewed out on the sideline for it. And that's a good thing looking forward. Let's hope, we see more of this and that's all I got to say, and let's go Jets.
Thank you for the call, V-Man. I think that's a good note to leave on. And you said it, and a few people said it, and even myself, invicting to it, said it's only a preseason game, and then say what they have to say. If things went horribly, people would have those reactions and be, oh man, here we go again. Aaron Glenn's in over his head. Justin Fields stinks, this and that. Played well, good. That's a good thing. Now do it again against the Giants. End the preseason on a hot streak against, Philadelphia. And it doesn't really matter as much about the wins and the losses. Obviously, you want to win every game. But just show something in the preseason to get you excited, which is what they did in the first game, and carry that momentum into week 1 and win a big game against a AFC opponent and someone who's competing in their eyes for a playoff spot and your former quarterback. Go out and make a statement. Start your season the right way at home and make a statement. And it has to start now. Like, we can't just be like, oh, we got to wait. And then they get there and it's fine. No, you're allowed to get excited now. You can. Don't get over your skis, but you can get excited. Guys, that's going to do it for me in this one. Thanks for hanging out. I'm Matt O'Leary. I'll catch you guys next time.